It's time for the Community Art Showcase. Last month, I tasked you all to create something with the prompt of landscape. And now it is time to see what you have wrought. But before that, I have to give you your next prompt. This time around, I'm challenging you all with the prompt of unsettling. Something with a subtle wrongness to it, a disquieting vibe. Not necessarily horror, but something adjacent to it, an unnervingness. I look forward to what you come up with. If you're interested in participating, you have until the end of the 31st to post your art with said prompt to the channel Discord. Now then, on to your art. First off, from Obese Rat 44, we have this landscape, which I really like overall. It's got a very storybook vibe to it, which I really enjoy. I'm not sure exactly what it is about it, but something about it makes me think of the old educational programs I used to watch when I was a kid. Stuff like Between the Lions and Wishbone. Maybe a little bit of the Jumpstart games too. I don't know. Maybe a little Sesame Street. I especially like your shading and how the light cast from the sun hits the tree and the mountains and everything. It's really nice. You've gotten better and better each time you've submitted to these, and it's looking really good. The only real critique I have for this one is the perspective on the house. Now, the perspective of your roof of the house is actually pretty good, but your wall is where it gets thrown off. If I open up your picture into GIMP here and show you what I mean, if I click and hold shift to follow the line of your roof off this way, and then I shift click follow the lower line of your roof. Actually need to pull it to the side and zoom out a little bit because it is pretty far off. But your roof lines do eventually converge even farther out. Hang on, let me zoom out a touch. I thought they converged. I checked this a second ago. Yeah, your roof line here comes out about like this. This one is about like it. Yeah, they converge about like right here. But the line at the bottom of your wall doesn't. It stays pretty much parallel to the line of your roof. And that throws off the whole image a little bit. For a 1 point perspective, which is pretty much what this house is just the vanishing points way off your page. How you want to do it is you have your vanishing point, let's say right here, right? Say this is, and say our horizon line is just a little bit below it. Now if we want to make our square cube falling back into the vanishing point, we make whatever our shape is. Just using squares because it's easiest to demonstrate. And then from the edge of our square, we take it back to the vanishing point. Because this one's mostly in line with our perspective, we just see the side. If we have our object above the horizon, kind of like this, go back to our vanishing point, you just see the bottom of it. If it's more out, we converge down, and we will see both sides and the bottom. Kind of like this. Still want to go straight across and then up. And then if we're below the horizon, we'd see the top of it. Kind of like that. And that's 1 point perspective. For 2 point perspective, which you might have also been trying here, instead of having the 1 point, we have 2. That's why it's called 2 points. So we put a dot here and a dot here of our horizon. And instead of having our cube, we have the corner. And then our corner converges off to either side. And that's how you get the 2 point perspective. Say you got a road coming, and then say you got like the corner of a road here. Do that, and like there's your sidewalk or whatever. More use, Maybe we'll want to have a corner that's here, further back for some kind of building. And then we take this to here, and this to here. And now you've got the underside of your cube, or you have one that's below your horizon. Oops, almost went 1 point there. Just put it like this. That's our edge. And then you pick however far you want it to go back. Pick how far you want it to go back. And that's how you do 2 point. Of course, all of that only really applies if you actually want to use perspective instead of having it be a more flat and abstract image, which the rest of yours is. And there is nothing wrong with doing the latter. That's how I do a lot of my art. And of course, you can always break the rules for the sake of style if you want. But if you are trying to go for a more accurate perspective, that'd be how you do it. So, overall, like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I'm curious to see what you do with the next one if you choose to take part in it. Up next, from your local noob, we have this snowy forest scene. Going for your more abstract and dreamlike style with this one, I do really like it. And going back to the prompt for next time, it does actually have a somewhat unsettling vibe to it. Kind of feels like something happened in these woods. That said, I do have a little bit of a critique for this one. The shadow of the trees in the background, which, depending on what monitor you've got this on, some of you might not be able to see, are really pointy. Maybe an intended stylistic thing, but it feels a little off with the softer nature of the foreground. At the very least, I'd have hit on with either a Gaussian or lens blur. So, overall, I do really like it. Up next, from one of my cousins, we have this, the kind of mountain pathway scene. Overall, I do really like it. You got some nice atmospheric occlusion going on with the mountains fading off into the background. And I like the shadowing you've done for your plants. However, the perspective of your foreground is confusing. I know from the steps that it's supposed to be sloping down, but it doesn't really look like it is. So I do really like it, and I'm glad you decided to participate in this one. Up next, from my sister, we have 2 entries this time. Since you did 2, I'll cover each one but briefly. Starting with the first, we have this field of bunnies and fireflies. For this one, the sky is definitely the best part. You've got a really nice gradient with it. On the critiquing side for this one, firstly, everything's really fuzzy. And secondly, your tree branches go from being really thick to really thin pretty abruptly. You probably want them to taper out a fair bit more as you branch out your branches. For my sister's second one, we also have this mountain scene. Overall, I like this one a bit better as it feels like more of a place than the previous one did, though I do like the previous one's sky more. That said, it still has the fuzziness. However, I was just told that was apparently a stylistic choice, and intentional. But as you yourself admitted, you had the scale of your otters way off here. They're the size of the tree just across the river from them. Now, if they were stood on a foreground element to imply that they were much closer to the viewer, their current scale could work, but they're supposed to be on the same plane as that tree I mentioned them being the same size of, so they should really be a lot smaller than they are given their placement within this space. So overall, I do like them, and I do like the inclusion of wildlife in them, even if the scaling of some of that wildlife is a little off. But up next, and for the last, we have another set of 2 from my brother. First off, we have this digital art tree and path scene, which I really like your lighting in. Your shading on your tree and your shadow cast is all really well done. This one does feel pretty empty though, and I feel like it would benefit from some extra objects or more detailing in the grass. I also feel like you should have a few more harder edges in your shading here and there, because right now it is fairly blurry, even if the lighting of it is really nice. For your second submission in the physical art sketch, I like it a bit more. There's a lot more feeling in this one than the previous. You've got 2 good points of interest between your figure and the watermill, and I like how your figure's lantern is casting illumination into the sky around them. And with how your pencil strokes are directed, it almost has a little bit of a Van Gogh feel to it. The same points, about point perspective, do kind of apply here, but I've already discussed perspective a fair bit, so no need to rehash. Still, I do like them both. I need to wrap things up here so I can go and take an Advil, because my earlier attempt at trying to do a pull-up is coming back to bite me. But before I go do that, I want to thank all of you for participating in this community art showcase, and I hope that you all do in the next one. As a reminder, your next prompt for the next Community Art Showcase is unsettling. So make something with that prompt by the end of the 31st and post it to the channel Discord. And I will see you in the next video.